Mr. Mayor, we're now live.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Good evening, everyone. This meeting of Ajax Council is being held electronically and live streamed on the town's website. All members of council in attendance are participating by audio and video teleconference, and town staff are available throughout the meeting if council members have any questions on the agenda. For members of the public watching from home, please bear with us if we encounter any technical difficulties throughout the meeting, and I'll now call this meeting to order. Start with the land acknowledgement. I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas, more specifically the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action in acknowledging the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations towards truth and reconciliation. Let us keep these principles close as we continue towards truth and reconciliation and as we move forward with kindness and respect as a community. Does any member of council have any disclosure of pecuniary interest? No? All good. Moving on to the minutes. We have moved by Councillor Lee, second by Councillor Tyler Morin. Let me just bring the resolution up. That the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on March 28th, 2022 be adopted. Any errors and omissions, questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, those in favor of approval? Your hands, I see them all. That is carried. Moving on to Mr. Clerk, did any member of the public submit any questions under question period on tonight's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, we've not received any questions for question period tonight.
Okay, thank you. Under delegations and presentations, item 5.1, the annual commemoration and formal recognition of the Armenian genocide of 1915. We have George Karlakian, OCT resident of Ajax. Is Mr. Karlakian available? Ready?
I'm here.
Okay, please go ahead, sir. When you're ready, you have 5 minutes.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
I am great, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'd like to acknowledge yourself, Councillor Khan, Councillor Dees, and Councillor Bauer and Councillor Lee today for your cleanup efforts. It's much appreciated. It's a really big deal when everybody's involved and you guys set the example of equality and equity. And I want to say thank you for that. That's a really big deal when I show my students what it's about when it comes to everybody being part of a positive community. I want to say that actually that kind of leads into what I was going to discuss. Councillor Khan and I were talking. I had actually messaged him on Instagram, letting him know that I was sorry that I missed his open house, for the mosque open house. And I thought that was a very, very creative idea in regards to kind of bringing people together and understanding how everybody all communities kind of are open and understanding and getting to know each other. I, as somebody who lives in South Ajax, go down to the water a lot and start conversations with lots of different people. And we all seem to be so welcoming and loving. And that's a really big deal when it comes to Ajax. And it's funny because Councillor Khan and I were talking about, Councillor Khan originally is from Guyana, and I have many Guyanese friends, and I love that Guyana is well known for having an unbelievable religious equity towards it. And we kind of got to talking because I told him that my families are originally from Armenia, but had to leave because of the Armenian genocide, and we're in Middle Eastern countries growing up because of it. And there was and grew up in harmony there. And he asked me what the Armenian genocide was, and that kind of lit a light bulb in my head about how important it is to put the Armenian genocide kind of at the forefront in the Ajax community, and as far as the importance of understanding the knowledge of what happened and kind of to make sure that genocide awareness is in our Ajax community in order for future genocides not to occur, especially as global citizens now, as we all are. The genocide of the Armenians was in 1915, and it was by the Ottoman Empire, and 1.5 million Armenians passed away. However, many kind of were dispersed. Many escaped into Middle Eastern countries like Syria, Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon and Palestine. And many Armenians were saved that way. In fact, that's pretty much how my parents met. They were both my mom was in Syria and my dad was in Palestine, and then they met in Lebanon and married there, and then I was born here. It's a very, very important thing to me, and it really hits home to me because there are now about 130,000 Armenians, Canadian Armenians in the GTA. A lot of them are actually moving this way. I talk very highly of Ajax, and there's actually people personally that have moved to Ajax because of how highly I speak of it. But the reason I speak of it so highly is because we're such an accepting community. We're such a beautiful community in regards to everyone just loving everything about being here. And the reason why I think Armenian Heritage Month is important, and the reason the Armenian Genocide is important, is because they are unfortunately intertwined. So because of the genocide, a lot of our socioeconomic status was destroyed. A lot of our, most importantly, our familial ties were destroyed. I don't really have any great-grandparents to acquire knowledge from.
Uh-oh, Mr. Karlakian, I think we've lost your audio, or is it just me?
I think it's important to note that as a humanitarian issue and as a human issue, it's important to recognize genocide so that it doesn't happen again. In fact, unfortunately, in Adolf Hitler's diary, it actually wrote, one of his top generals walked up to him and said, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to go through with this Holocaust? And basically, Adolf Hitler said, who remembers the Armenians? Nobody. So we're going to do what we're going to do, sort of thing. So in order to prevent genocide, we must make sure to put it at the forefront so people understand it, they embrace the understanding of it and understand so it never happens again. You'll pardon me my voice, and you'll pardon the strength in my voice because I'm dealing with a little bit of long COVID, but that's basically in a nutshell what I want to say, and thank you for your time and patience to everyone who's listening.
Thank you, Mr. Karlakian, for your delegation. Does any member of council have any questions on the delegation tonight? Okay, Mr. Clerk, I believe we have a proclamation. Are you able to put it on the screen? There we go. And I just want to say, Mr. Karlakian, Ajax is a real melting pot. We have such a diverse community, and one of the things that I've really learned over the last couple of years is a lot about these tragedies and Holocaust and all the terrible events that have happened to so many different groups over the year. And you're absolutely right. By talking about these things and by recognizing them and acknowledging them is, I think, the only way that we're going to be able to move forward as a community.
May our strength in loving each other bring us forward into a more peaceful future. Exactly.
So I have the proclamation here. The Corporation of the Town of Ajax hereby proclaims April 24, 2022 is Armenian Genocide Memorial Day, presented on behalf of the Mayor and Ajax Council by me, April 19th today. So I think we have a paper copy for you as well. And thank you very much for your delegation today and for bringing this important matter forward.
Thanks very much, Mayor Collier. I greatly appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much, councillors. It's nice talking to all of you, just as a side note. So thank you very much for being so communicative and being so reachable.
Good to see you, George.
Good to see you too.
Our pleasure. Our next delegation, item 5.2, definition of excessive barking and howling in bylaw number 48-2017, dog and cat bylaw. Resident Rodney Duty, are you available, Mr. Duty?
I am available. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councillors. So my name is Rodney Duty, and I'm a resident of Ajax in South Ajax. And I wish to speak to you today about the definition of excessive barking or howling in bylaw number 48, 2017, which is the cat and dog bylaw. And what I would like council to consider is the inadequacy of this definition. So first, I want to just introduce the bylaw itself so that everyone's on the same page. So it says in under the general requirements section 7, that no owner of a dog shall knowingly or not knowingly allow the dog to howl or bark excessively. And then excessively is defined in the definition section as, with respect to barking, any barking or howling exceeding a cumulative 20-minute period within any 1 hour time frame. So the goal of this particular way of defining excessive is obviously to attain a certain degree of precision, right? But we feel that in the desire to quantify, that is to have a number attached to the behavior, my experience shows that it actually has a few holes in it. The first one is the main hole. The law as it exists does not account for barking that continues, for example, for less than 20 minutes in an hour, but that goes on for many hours throughout the day. So is 18 minutes in 1 hour, 10 minutes the next hour, 15 minutes the next, 8 minutes the next, and so on excessive? Well, the existing law does not address this. Second to that, another hole is that the law does not stipulate how the cumulative 20 minutes is to be calculated. For instance, if a dog barks for 10 seconds 1 minute, 20 seconds the next, barks twice in the next minute, and then 15 seconds in the next, how should those of us who are being subjected to this behavior count it up? When I asked this question to various bylaw officers over the last 2 years, I got various answers. I was even told at one point that I should have a stopwatch in hand so that I could add the cumulative 1,200 seconds that would constitute 20 minutes in an hour. As you can see, this desire to quantify leaves out a lot. What we are asking you to consider is the purpose of the law in terms of the desire to quantify unacceptable behavior. So obviously the law, the aim of quantifying is to minimize arbitrary human judgment and to make the standard of acceptable behavior clear. So our argument, that is the residents who are concerned about this, is that we can achieve even more clarity than the existing law, with all of its holes, establishes, and still keep human judgment within certain bounds without risking arbitrariness. The problem with the way that the law has been quantified here is that it almost leaves no room for human judgment at all. Having a time duration that automatically defines excessive barking, while it might be efficient for the institution tasked with upholding the law, it actually ends up removing human judgment and removes the possibility of being able to deal with a case individually on its merits. As it stands, under the existing law, nothing short of 20 minutes can be considered excessive. The purpose of the law, which is the relative peaceful, quiet enjoyment of our homes, ends up being sacrificed while the behavior of irresponsible dog owners, in our opinion, goes unchallenged. The perpetrators of persistent noise end up being protected by the existing law because once they know the law, they can operate entirely within it while continuing to be quite disruptive to those around them. So in closing, in anticipation of where as counselors you might end up taking this, if you take it anywhere at all, let me just say a few words on the role of counsel in relation to bylaw services. And I only ask that as policymakers that you do not defer to the policy enforcers on the questions of what constitutes reasonableness in this case. And I only raise this point because last year when I attempted to reach out to my own counselor to discuss the reasonableness of the law and to sit down with some of the people in the neighborhood who are concerned about it, we were deferred to bylaw services who described the existing law as reasonable, with the implication, of course, that our request to discuss the law was unreasonable. After which all further attempts at discussion were simply shut down and we were ignored, and all follow-up emails to discuss the matter were left unanswered. So I also anticipate in closing one other justification for maintaining the existing law, which I would ask you to consider thinking about, which has previously been asserted, and this is why I anticipate it, namely that changing the law, the existing law, would create an undue burden on responsible owners. Well, on that front, I'd simply return you to the hole that I've already mentioned in the law. Does a reasonable owner allow their dog to bark for 10 minutes 1 hour, 12 minutes the next, 15 minutes in another hour, and then 8 minutes after that? If not, then why should the existing law serve to protect anyone who allows their dogs to persistently bark in such a manner? The point is not to eliminate barking here. That's not our goal. But no responsible dog owner allows their dog to persistently disturb their neighbors. The point of a noise law is to maintain peace and some measure of quiet, a major factor in our mental health, as you all know, I'm sure. Any reasonable noise law should be able to effectively deal with persistent noise. And I feel like the law as it exists doesn't allow us to deal with that. In light of the arguments made here, I simply ask that you as policymakers look into the merits of the existing law and perhaps think about it in terms of how other municipalities deal with the issue. And if you want, we could talk about that in some question period, or I can forward you some of the research that I've done into other municipalities and how they define it. But for now, I would just like to thank you for your time.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Duty, for your presentation. Does any member of council have any questions on the delegation? I just have a couple. I liken this to the music complaints we get. I haven't really had any complaints recently about dogs barking, but I do get them over partying late into the night. And I don't think there's a timeline attached to that. And I'll have some questions to staff later. But can you just quickly highlight one or two ways some other municipalities are dealing with this, just for my benefit? Because I'm trying to think of a better way to quantify this and what you would suggest.
So I think if I could just review the main point I made about quantification in the email was that, or in the presentation, was that the attempt to quantify eliminates the possibility of human judgment, and it enables certain types of persistent barking while attempting to quantify it. The attempt to
I'm asking how would we be able to measure what is excessive and what isn't? I think this is part of the problem. The attempt to quantify it is the problem. So in Guelph, for example, it's defined as persistent barking, calling or whining of any domestic pet or any animal except livestock. So if the area allows livestock, then that's fine. But in any neighborhood where no livestock is allowed, a domestic pet is not allowed to persistently bark, call, or whine, and they don't quantify it, nor does Kingston. There's no quantification in Kingston, and same thing in Windsor. And these are all cities of similar size to Ajax. In Toronto, for example, it says that no person shall cause or permit persistent noise, including barking, calling, or whining, or other similar persistent noise, to be made by any animal kept or used for any purpose. And persistent noise is then defined as any noise that is continuously heard for a period of 10 minutes or more, or intermittently over a period of 1 hour or more. Okay, so there still is a time measurement there. I just was wondering what some of those were. So I think this is something that we'll have to look at outside of this venue, but follow up with staff on, and I will ask some questions for our bylaw people. And this may be something that this council will look at reopening and having a look at, depending on those answers.
Okay, and I need to reiterate the point that I think in deferring to bylaw services, I think would be a mistaken approach, because bylaw services have been quite clear in their belief that the law as it exists is reasonable. And from their perspective, yeah.
Fair. I'm at a disadvantage because I don't know it as well as you at this moment.
No problem.
So I'll review it.
Yes.
And once I review it, I'll ask a few questions, and it'll be questions about what's in there now. It won't be what are your recommendations, and we'll go from there.
Got you. No problem.
I can't guarantee anything, but I will look at it, and I think we will all have a look at it and update ourselves.
No problem. Thank you for your commitment.
Thank you for your delegation. Moving on to our next, we have item 5.3. Youth Week 2022, Ashley Adams, Community Recreation Supervisor. Ms. Adams, whenever you're ready.
Thank you.
Mrs. Adams, sorry.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Collier, members of council, town staff, and residents. Thank you for welcoming us here tonight. My name is Ashley Adams, and I'm the Acting Community Recreation Supervisor of Youth Development for the Recreation, Culture, and Community Development Department. Working with the members of the Youth Engagement Advisory Committee, we strive to create positive opportunities for youth by providing them with quality programs, spaces, and services in their community, such as the annual Youth Week event. In addition, the YSC provides youth with a voice in steering town programs and youth issues. Tonight, we'll be highlighting the 20 youth ambassadors as part of our Encourage Me Ajax campaign. Living through the COVID-19 pandemic over the past 2 years presented many challenges for youth to be actively involved in their community. This year's group of ambassadors have demonstrated the resiliency of youth being able to give back to their community in any way that they can. These ambassadors are recognized for their service to the community. They're the youth who have taken the time to make a positive impact in Ajax, whether it was by completing countless volunteer hours, creating a club in their school, or leading community projects. The events organized by the Youth Engagement Advisory Committee during Youth Week allow youth to stay connected with their community, and through a digital campaign with DurhamRegionNews.com, promotional material, and social media, we are able to share and inform youth of these events. I would now like to introduce one of this year's youth ambassadors, Alexandra King, to elaborate on Youth Week and the Encourage Me Ajax event.
Thank you, Ashley. Good evening. My name is Alexandra King, but you can call me Alex, and I'm a grade 11 student attending Notre Dame Catholic High School. I'm involved in the Town of Ajax's Youth Engagement Advisory Committee and am a 2022 Town of Ajax Youth Ambassador. I also serve the community as a youth group leader for my church, an executive faith ambassador, and the grade 11 representative on our student council. I am honored to be nominated as one of this year's ambassadors. I'm glad to see that youth are really given a chance to be viewed as leaders through the YAC and the Youth Ambassador Initiative. Throughout the year, the YAC partnered with Durham Youth Services to create winter care packages for youth in need. We attended youth events like Ajax on Stage and wrote a letter of support regarding the implementation of the Green Development and Environmental Design Guidelines, or the GDEDG, in Ajax. We continue to discuss what makes Ajax a youth-friendly community and how we can enhance youth involvement in areas of employment and volunteering. Youth Week is a provincial celebration of youth held annually during the first week of May. It is a week of fun, collaboration, and celebration intended to build a strong relationship between young people in their communities and to profile creativity, accomplishments, and the diversity of youth. National Youth Week reminds us of the valuable impact that recreation and culture has on youth development, and in turn, how youth can make a positive impact on their community. So get a head start on Youth Week this year with a special performance by the incredibly talented Avery Raquel live at the St. Francis Center on April 30th. Then throughout the week, the Town of Ajax will be offering free drop-in basketball at the Audley Recreation Center and the McLean Community Center. We are bringing back the free art workshop where local Ajax artists will be a part of a paint night on May 2nd. And in order to relax after a busy week, Friday, May 6th has a movie night happening at the St. Francis Center and a yoga workshop at the Audley Recreation Center. Also on May 7th, there is a special Bollywood dance workshop being offered at the Ajax Community Center. In addition, the 3 youth spaces located in the recreation facilities will be hosting game tournaments and prize giveaways all week. I know that's a lot of information, so to get more details on Youth Week events, please visit ajax.ca/youthweek. The 10th annual Encourage Me Ajax Symposium event will be held on Wednesday, May 4th from 5 to 7:30 p.m. The Encourage Me Ajax campaign will highlight 20 of my fellow Ajax Youth Ambassadors and their accomplishments in school, their community, and really showcase their aspirations and talents that these young people possess. The keynote speaker for the event is co-founder of the social enterprise Pick Waste, Sam Dema. Sam is a 22-year-old TEDx speaker and an entrepreneur who doesn't let his age define his drive or his credibility. And we are very much looking forward to hearing his story. So on behalf of the Youth Engagement Advisory Committee and the Youth Ambassadors, I would like to formally request that the Town of Ajax proclaim May 1st to May 7th as Youth Week in Ajax. Thank you so much for this opportunity and your continued support for the youth in Ajax. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexander. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Does any member of council have any questions on the delegation? There's got to be something for that. Councillor Khan. And then
Alexandra, are you a Toastmaster?
Pardon?
Have you ever done a Toastmaster course?
No.
You're an excellent speaker and your smile never broke once.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm just very grateful to be here.
That was my question, Mayor. Thank you.
A good question. Councillor Tyler Moore.
Thanks for being here, Alexandra. And my daughter also goes to ND. She's grade 11 student as well, Bridget. Yeah. And I'm always torn to say this. You're such a great speaker, like you wouldn't be. But you are a very, very good speaker, as Mrs. Adams is as well. You did an excellent presentation today. I just wanted to tell you that. Put that in your resume.
Thank you.
Questions to the delegation, Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Alex. And, I echo my counselor's praise. My question is more specifically, you are in front of the elected officials from Municipal Council for the town of Ajax. What are some takeaways we can do as leaders within the community that reflect what the youth want? Because here's the problem. I'm the youngest person of council, and I'm still old as far as the teen and the youth are concerned, as far as the town of Ajax. No one knows how to appeal to youth. No one knows how to reach out to them and really connect with them. So since you are our outlet, I thought I'd ask you right now, what are some of the priorities we can be looking at over the next few months, years, that are priorities for youth?
Well, for me, so stuff like Youth Week are very important, really engaging with the youth and really getting them involved and really having fun. Another thing that I always bring up is really being open and sharing information, especially on social media. Social media is a great tool, and it's what everyone's using nowadays. So putting things on social media and really trying to get people involved, letting youth know about what's happening, it can really get them involved and encourage them to maybe partake in some of these events, or maybe learn more or investigate on things that are happening in their own town, because everyone wants to know what's happening in our town, right? Because we do so many great things.
That is very helpful. Thank you very much. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander, just before I go to Councillor Bauer, are you part of our Youth Engagement Advisory Committee?
Yes, I am.
I thought you might be, which is awesome, because we do get a lot of great feedback from that committee as well. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Alexandra. Very nice to meet you. Wonderful presentation. Lots of information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think one of the items you talked about was a paid art exhibit or something like that?
It is an art night, a free art workshop. Local Ajax artists can come in and participate in it. Yes.
Okay, that's on May 2nd, I think you said?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And what was that? That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. And what was the website again, just so I can write it down?
Oh, it's ajax.ca/Youth Week. No spaces.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Those were my questions, Mayor Collier.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions? I will just close with, and I'm going to break my own rule. It's not really a question. I always love to see our youth come front and center, and we can celebrate the good that comes out. And Councillor Lee sent me a message, which is absolutely right. We want to engage all of our youth, like the YAC, is that how you say it? Youth Engagement Advisory Committee are very engaged young people. But again, our goal is to try and engage everybody. And so please keep spreading that message. And I think you guys are doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Appreciate that. Our next delegation, item 5.4, status update presenting the new Grandview Kids facility in Ajax. Here we grow. Lorraine Sundstrom-Mann, CEO, Grandview Children's Center. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, Lorraine. Sorry, my apologies. I jumped the gun there. Folks, I missed one proclamation. Alexander, you still there? There you are. Okay. And Ms. Adams, are you still there? There you are. Okay. My apologies. We have a proclamation for you. Corporation of Town of Ajax hereby proclaims May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Youth Week here in Ajax, presented on behalf of Mayor and Ajax Council today. Thank you once again for your delegation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Lorraine, now it's your turn. And very nice to see you. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Collier, Council, town staff, and residents. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide an update regarding our construction of the new Grandview Kids. I'm delighted to let you know that we've reached commercial and financial close on our P3 partnership on April 13th. We have now awarded Children's First Consortium the contract to design, build, and finance the new Grandview with a guaranteed price of $83.5 million. We are so excited to be at this stage. On the slide before you are the partners who have come forward to build Children's First Consortium, headed by Amico and Cecire, who have partnered, and there are many consultants who will be working on this incredible project with us over the next 24 months. Next slide. I wanted to spend some time tonight talking to you about the project vision and the story of the building that is about to come to Ajax for all residents in Grandview's mandated area of Durham region. And so next slide, please. I'm so sorry, I've just lost my screen. One more. Oh, can you still hear me?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. There we go. So here are words that have been guiding some very specific work for Grandview. As you know, we've been dreaming about this for 14 years. And over the last year and a half, we have really been planning in great detail the work that is about to begin. And we've been guided by the words hope, belonging, discovery, and celebration for every child and youth to live their life at their full potential, including the families who access Grandview Kids. And the next few slides, I wanted to take you through, in the spirit of a picture paints 1,000 words, a number of images up until about slide 29, to just take you through some of what we've been thinking about and the words that we've been thinking about. So Alexandra is going to just flip through the slides, and please enjoy the images. And so just a few of the images and words that we have been thinking about for a very long time to ensure that the building that will become the new Grandview Kids truly resonates with those we serve and with the community. I want to take you through a few more images, and I'll just cue the slides to move forward, please. Thank you. Next slide. Some renderings of what's about to become the new Grandview Kids. Starting on the far left of the slide, you're seeing an image at the top of a classroom. As you know, we'll have 100 children in kindergarten in the new building with us as they're enjoying their first entry to school. The classrooms have been designed to be technologically advanced and very welcoming. The slide at the bottom is the rendering of an elevator. We have a 4-story building being planned, and so a nice waiting space just coming off of an elevator. In the middle at the top, you're seeing the image of a reception area made fun and open for children to enjoy as they wait. The middle is the large gymnasium, a beautiful feature of the new facility, a very large gymnasium that will host sporting events as well as any kind of gatherings that require a large space. In the bottom is a rendering of our therapy pool. It has a beautiful projection ceiling to provide sensory experiences for children and families. And at the far end, you see windows. It's a beautiful feature to a sunken garden that the children who are swimming in can enjoy looking out to, but also provide privacy to those who are enjoying the pool. At the far right of the slide, at the top, is an image of a family resource center. And the image at the bottom is a rendering of our anticipated atrium or the grand foyer as you come into the new building. Next slide, please. Part of the intention of the design of the building and what will be inside the building, of course, is that it is a building for children, and it needs to be important that children can feel comfortable and explore and feel as though the building is theirs. And so a lot of thought has gone into how we make it child scale. You see the image of the fox at the bottom in a fox den, and that has become part of the thinking about making spaces and nests and dens where children can explore and be comfortable. Next slide. In addition, the word whimsy has come up a lot. We, of course, are building a building for children and their families, and we want it to be a fun place. Children don't often move in straight lines, and so we want the building to have texture and to be animated and to really be able to feature some of what's inside with what's on the outside. You may recall that there is a woodlot that provides the opportunity for a sensory trail, and the theme of nature and trees inside the building and external to the building have been part of what we've been thinking about. Next slide. Continuing on, the image at the bottom left is a slide depicting how we're imagining wayfinding. You'll be interested to know that the animals in that rendering are animals that were indigenous to the site when we did the study of animals. So there was a fox that we found, a turtle, a raccoon, an owl, and these animals are going to find their way into the ultimate design of the new Grandview. Next slide. Again, whimsy, starting to see how imagining the use of circles in the design of the building. At the bottom right, you're seeing a stylized tree. It's important to let you know that the colors have not yet been selected. These are all next stage in the design, the final textures and colors to be determined. And so just giving you some ideas that have come forward in the initial thinking. Next slide. Again, just some ideas about the inside and the use of nests and dens and nature, again, making sure that we're building something that children can truly explore. Next slide. And next. Again, very important word at Grandview is inclusive, and that everything that we're designing will be available for all children to enjoy and for their families to enjoy. So truly an accessible place for the families of Grandview, for the children and clients of Grandview, but also for the community. And in a moment, I'm going to show you a fly-through video, and you'll get a sense of how we're imagining the community being able to enjoy the sensory trail. Next slide. Just again, some images of thinking, of course, about a safe environment. And so we've imagined how we would think about fencing and parking lots, and of course, all of those important things to keep the community who are visiting, and of course, our clients and staff safe when they're in the building, whether it's infection prevention and control or just their safety with traffic flow. Next slide. I'd now like to take you through a video. This is a bit of a fly-through. It's about 3.5 minutes long, just showing you a little more detail than what I've been able to with just the renderings. I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you.
Grandview Children's Treatment Center. Welcome to Grandview Children's Center. The colorful and whimsical design is welcoming as you enter the site from Harwood Avenue. Large circular windows and abstracted tree shapes make the building an attractive destination for children and families. The canopy provides protection from the weather and provides interesting views of the sky. The Arrival Playground is an important component for children and families and provides a place to play before entering the building. The main lobby is a bright 2-story area with a comfortable and welcoming atmosphere. The reception desk is immediately obvious. and there are several areas for children and parents to sit while waiting. The Family Resource Center and Education Suite are conveniently located at the entry and can be closed off for after-hour usage. The Main Street is colorful and has many interesting elements for children to experience. Colorful animal icons are used, along with bright circles in the flooring and on the walls that form part of the intuitive wayfinding elements. The Main Street has lots of natural light and offers views into the executive offices and foundation as we make our way toward the elevators. A rest area offers an opportunity for children to take a quiet moment to rest or recover. The therapy pool is designed to support children with physical disabilities and other challenges. The sunken garden offers a view outside that still provides privacy.
I'm sure I see Mr. Fox in the garden outside. I wonder how he got there.
Continuing on our tour, we return through the main lobby and travel up the open stairs to level 2. Numbers on the stair risers encourage children to count their way up.
I see Mr. Fox racing up the side of the stairs. He is everywhere today.
There are many animal icons that guide children through Grandview. Large images of indigenous animal dens and nests throughout the building provide opportunities for children to learn more about the animals. Tree trunk columns and circular lights draw children towards the large circular seats that are positioned at key points throughout the building. Coming around the corner, we head past the waiting space with its comfortable circular seats and a variety of spaces designed to appeal to children and teens. As we enter the large gym, we see the basketball hoops and large windows that bring daylight all the way into the gym.
Looking up, I can see the waiting room that I'm going to with my mom. It's quiet in this gym. Maybe it's those big round discs that are making it quiet. I wonder if I could hit one with a ball.
Before leaving Grandview, we head down to the Family Resource Center on level 1.
I'm going to sit in one of the circular window seats and listen to music while my mom does some research.
The entrance to the Campbell Children's School is easily visible and inviting for children to either enter the school or go into the large playground. Landscaping and play spaces are very important elements of the design. Inside the school, animal icons welcome the children, and they can follow the colorful circles in the flooring as they make their way to their classrooms. Inside, classrooms have many of the same design features found in the treatment center. Columns disguised as trees, colorful murals, and large windows which bring lots of daylight and offer great views to the outside. The school has 2 connection points to the playground for safety and security. An accessible winding pathway outside the playground connects the community to the garden area and Willow Arch, which forms the entry to the woodlot. The pathway to the woodlot provides opportunities for the simple pleasure of a walk through the woods, with rest areas along the way. Native trees and plants provide learning opportunities, as do the outdoor classrooms and the gardens. The the therapeutic terrace has a variety of different amenities, such as a wheeling track and seating areas, to provide opportunities for both therapy and outdoor play. Coming into the building at level 3, there is a view down into the large gym with its large windows and views to the exterior. The reception and waiting area for center-wide therapy offer comfortable seating alternatives for children and their parents waiting for a therapist before taking the elevators back down to level 1. On returning to level 1 from the elevators, families can follow the circle patterns in the flooring and on the walls to the main lobby.
We walk past the scheduler's desk where my parents usually stop on their way out of Grandview. See you later, Mr. Fox.
From the air, you can see that Grandview has a unique imprint on the landscape. This is reflective of the importance of nature to the design and expresses Grandview's character and culture, and weaves these elements together to express the uniqueness of Grandview. Children's First Consortium is proud of our vision for Grandview and truly feel that we've designed a place that is very special. We are honored to be a part of realizing Grandview's vision.
Grandview Kids. Dream it, believe it, help us achieve it, and take the next step with us.
Thank you.
So thank you. So just those are early ideas and that where we've gotten to so far with design. Of course, we don't have site plan approval yet, and there are lots of things to be determined, but gives you a sense of the scale and the scope. The fourth floor that wasn't shown in the rendering is where the staff floor will be, so that wasn't depicted in the rendering, but really exciting to have all of this space soon available to our community and to be able to serve Grandview kids in a whole new way. So thank you, of course, to the town of Ajax for the donation of land, because without that, nothing would have been possible. So we're thrilled to be at this stage, and I thought you would have enjoyed seeing where we're at.
I think we did. Thank you. And I think some members of council have questions. I'll start with Councilor Tyler Moore and then Councilor Crawford.
Thank you, Worship. And congratulations, Lorraine, Ms. Sundstrom, for this coming to fruition slowly, and for your commitment to the community and all the staff and volunteers that you guys work with every single day. Today and tomorrow, you'll be working with kids. Do you know, my question is, do you know how many, when it gets to full capacity, how many people you'll be employing? Ish? It's a soft question.
It's a great question. We have had tremendous growth in the last few years. We've grown over 50%. So our staff is now hovering at about 300 staff members. When I started at Grandview, we had about 89 staff members. So we are in a situation right now that we have a lot of staff who are in additional sites that will close. So I don't have an exact number, but I'm sure with the programs, we will continue to see some growth, of course, all depending on operating budget.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilor Crawford, you're next.
Thank you, Your Worship. And because I have to ask a question, how excited are you? Is my first question.
Very excited.
Very excited. As excited to have you in Ajax. We're so happy to have this facility in Ajax. It looks fantastic. And you are to be commended for your stick-to-itiveness, because I don't know how long you've been raising money, but it seems like it's been going on for an awfully long time.
We have been at it for 14 years. I personally have been along for about 11 of those years.
Yeah.
And, I think I said to staff last week, we learn a lot from watching Grandview Kids, and it's not about milestones, it's about inch stones, and it's about persistence and determination. And that's how we approach this project as well. And look at where it's gotten us. We're thrilled to be here.
Which you pretty much, the definition of you is everything that you just said. You've been doing that. So congratulations to you. My question, I do have a question. And that is the facility in Oshawa. Will that remain open? Because that's your kind of hub right now, right?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we own that facility at 600 Town Line outright. And so our board, in their retreat at the end of May this year, is actually going to start thinking about what we'll do with that site. We just had a building condition audit completed and evaluation project completed, and we'll be talking about what we'll do in terms of that location. You may know we are expanding into Bowmanville. We've had a small Bowmanville location, but we are just about to grow in Bowmanville in terms of our capacity. And we have opened a second location in Oshawa, a third location in Oshawa, I should say, in partnership with CAS. And we have a site at Paul Dwyer High School. So there's a lot for us to think about in terms of making sure we fully utilize our new facility, but also keep all of our outreach. You may know we're in Port Perry as well as in Whitby. And so we just really want to make sure that families have access to a Grandview location close to them. So the existing headquarters is to be determined in terms of that site.
Okay. And do you have any timeline at all? I mean, I know we're so close to, shovels in the ground and all that kind of thing, but do you have
Absolutely. It's a guaranteed price performance-based contract. So substantial completion will be May 31st, 2024. And we expect to be welcoming children through the doors in the beginning of September. So we get the keys, if you will, on August 26, 2024. And that is just in time for the new school year. So anticipating between May and the fall, we'll be ramping up to welcome children and families.
Excellent. That's great news. Again, congratulations. Thank you, Your Worship.
You are welcome. Councillor Bauer, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. How beautiful is that facility going to be? There's my question. No, thank you so much for that presentation. It's beautiful. It really is so exciting. And the service that you will continue to provide in a new facility is just, I'm so excited for you. And so, and it might be too early to ask, but I saw the beautiful drawings of what the plan might be for the outside and the woodlot and the path and the use of the outdoors. Do you expect that you will also have something for the wintertime?
It's a great question. And actually, we're meeting early next week to talk about maintenance of that sensory trail and what we'll be able to offer in the winter. Our hope is to be able to, as much as possible, offer year-round access to the amenities. The kindergarten program is such now that children are outside every day. It used to be, even 10 years ago, we closed the playground sort of from November until April, but not anymore. Children, the curriculum is that they're outside enjoying nature every day. So our hope is that we'll be able to join that curriculum thinking and make sure it's accessible year round.
That's awesome. I think that's a great idea. And I did notice the word inchstone in the presentation, and I love that word. So,
yeah, me too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Any other member of council have any questions for Ms. Sundstrom? I have some comments, but my question first is there a groundbreaking this week?
There is on Friday, and the sun is going to shine, even though it snowed yesterday. So we have a number of guests will be joining virtually. We're still respecting some of the realities of COVID, but I believe that all of council has been invited to join in person to celebrate this incredible day with us. So we look forward to seeing you there. And for members, residents who are listening in, if they go to the Grandview website, there's details there in terms of how to join the live stream that we'll be showing from that groundbreaking.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's hard to believe that it was 14 years ago that we started this journey together with Ajax Council, giving the land towards this and then working with Regional Council as the start of the fundraising and going from there. And I just want to congratulate you on your persistence. Great job. I think your budget is almost doubled in the last 5 years. And I remember thinking something before, but you kept at it and looks like it's coming to fruition. Really looking forward to that on Friday and seeing the finished product. Thank you very much for your delegation.
Thank you so much. See you Friday.
And we will. Moving on to our next item, we have item 5.5, presentation from Durham Regional Police Services Community Safety Plan Sergeant Sean, who spells his name properly, Carter. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hello, Mayor Collier and all council. We are having some problems with our camera. I don't know if you guys can hear us there.
We can hear you. Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
I am sitting here with my partner, Detective Fisher, and Detective Richardson from Human Trafficking, and Carly Church. I was wondering, Mr. Mayor, if we could start with human trafficking, as we're having some scheduling problems.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Hello, Mayor and everyone else. Thanks for having us. I'm Detective Constable Richardson with our Human Trafficking Unit. I'm a detective in our unit. I know we only have 5 minutes, so we will kind of keep this as quick as we can. Our unit is what's wrong? Oh, sorry. Our unit is compiled of, it started in 2018, and we had 6 officers. Right now, as of 2021, we have now been expanded to a total of 10 officers. We are actually one of the largest human trafficking units in Ontario. And we are focusing on a victim-centered approach, which is like no other. And what's different from us is we actually have a victim services embedded directly into our team, and that's Carly Church.
And I'm here too today. So weird. Sorry, our camera's not working. You can't see us, but I'm Carly Church, and I am a human trafficking crisis intervention counselor at Victim Services of Durham Region. And I'm also a survivor of sex trafficking myself. And now I use my lived experience and professional experience to engage and support individuals in a way that's quite unique. So back in 2017, Durham had a pilot program, or like a pilot unit for human trafficking. And they were seeing a lot of victims of trafficking in Durham Region. Durham Region is a hub for trafficking. I can tell you that, actually, Rebecca will talk a little bit about some of the stats after, but we see many victims of trafficking because of where we are and where we're located in Durham Region. So our 4 major cities across Durham are all located along the 401 corridor. So millions of people commute on the 401, and there's multiple hotels right off of the 401. So it's easy access for people who are purchasing sex and for traffickers to move the individuals that they're trafficking from city to city. So Durham ends up being that hub. Ontario itself is a hub. 2/3 of all trafficking that happens in Canada happens here in Ontario. So because we're so close situated to Toronto, and because we're right along the 401 corridor. So what we did in Durham, and I always say kudos to Durham Regional Police Services, because they noticed that they were seeing an influx of individuals who are being trafficked here in Durham Region, and they weren't able to connect with a lot of those victims. So they knew they had to do something differently. So in 2018, their program or their unit became permanent, and they decided to do something different. And they decided to take on what Rebecca mentioned, the victim-centered or client-centered approach. So I was hired to be embedded with their unit as not only a survivor, but as a crisis intervention counselor. So every time they meet with a potential victim or somebody who we are pretty certain is being trafficked, I'll go with them so that individual then has the opportunity to either speak to police, or if they're not ready to, or maybe they had a negative interaction at some point, or maybe historically something had happened, or maybe they've been involved in criminal activity themselves or forced to be, and they're fearful to speak to police at that time. They don't have to. And what happens is the human trafficking unit will clear the room to make sure it's safe, and I'll go in and speak with them in a confidential manner, and I'll offer to support them in any way that they need to. So I'll work really hard with community partners to ensure that I can meet every single one of their unique needs, so that we can start to build that rapport, build that relationship, and they can understand that there's another option if they choose to do that. And what that does is it works as a credibility builder for the police. So not only was I once in a situation similar to theirs, but now I'm out and I'm working with the police. So I can kind of vouch for the unit and that the work that they're doing and that they're there to support them and help them. And since we've taken on that approach, there's been a 93% increase of individuals choosing to speak to police. And then in 2021, we saw a 30% increase of individuals choosing to give a formal KGB statement and going through with court procedures and actually coming through with a conviction and being successful in reaching the goals that they have for themselves. We were the first ever to take on this victim-centered approach, and now this approach is recognized globally. We've been to Italy, we've been to Austria to discuss this model, and now different places across our country and in North America are mimicking the exact same approach that we're doing because we've seen such success. So it's something that I think is really important to continue the conversation about human trafficking. A lot of people don't really understand what human trafficking truly looks like or that it's happening in their neighborhoods. A lot of people think that human trafficking only happens in other countries or it's happening to people that are brought to our country from another country, which is just not accurate. The majority of people who are trafficked in Canada are Canadian citizens or people who have come to Canada, nothing to do with trafficking, lived here forever long, called Canada their home and were trafficked here. This is happening to the kids that go to your kids in your grandchildren's school, that play in your parks, that access the same community centers. The average age of people being trafficked is between the age of 15 and 24. So it's happening to young individuals. It happened to me. I grew up in a rural community in the middle of nowhere in northeastern Ontario, and I was trafficked. This isn't something that is just happening in big cities. It is happening across our country in every single community. And it's not people being kidnapped. It's not people being ripped off the streets. It is people who believe that their trafficker is going to take care of them. The majority, 85% of my clients identify their trafficker to be their boyfriend or girlfriend. It's somebody that they know, who builds a relationship with them, finds out what's been lacking in their life and provides it to them. They treat them better than anybody's treated them before. And over time, that starts to change a little bit and shift. And they start to ask them to do things that they never thought they would. It is a thought out psychological process. It's manipulative. It is something that has been planned from the very beginning. And this, like I said, this is happening here in Durham, and it's happening a lot. I can tell you that in 2021, I saw over 275 individuals who were trafficked here in Durham region, all young individuals. And if there was 5 of me, all 5 of us would have seen 275 individuals being trafficked here in Durham. I can hit the tip of the iceberg. There's so many more. I'm going to pass it to Rebecca to give you some stats from a policing perspective of how many people are being trafficked here in Durham region and what's happening.
So just an idea, in 2021, our human trafficking unit launched 336 investigations. Through those investigations, we were able to identify and assist 312 victims. And a crazy number is 111 of these victims were under the age of 18. Thank you.
That is it for the presentation. If anyone has any questions?
I think we have some questions, starting with Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to start with saying that this team came to our last community meeting. They spoke for 30 minutes, and I tell you, after you left, there was absolutely no questions. Everyone was so gobstuck by what you had said. It was like all of a sudden the other issues didn't seem all that important. So thank you so much for coming. It was an amazing presentation. Thank you for coming tonight. I think the more we talk about it, the more people get smarter about, like you said, it's not what it looks like on TV. It's a very psychological addiction that these predators actually create. I think, can you tell me, in your experience, what's the youngest victim that you have been able to rescue?
I think the youngest victim that we've worked with who has been procured as 11. the youngest victim in Durham that has been fully trafficked and we've supported in exiting was 13.
Wow, that's crazy. So how do you measure success in this program?
I think success is measured in many different ways, and it's around the individual and their needs. So success isn't just pulling somebody out of a trafficking situation and putting them into a group home, or pulling them out of a trafficking situation and getting them somewhere other than there. And I think success also isn't just getting a conviction. I think there's many different things, and that's why we've taken on this victim-centered approach. And to me, success is meeting with an individual who's in a trafficking situation, understanding what it is that they need, and helping them to meet those goals and meet those basic needs of that person, and walking beside them to do that. It's a bonus if we can get a conviction, but if we can see somebody get out of a trafficking situation and reach whatever goal they have for themselves, it's incredible. Not everybody's success will maybe look like how I got out and where I am today. There might not be survivors telling their story, but there might be survivors who are able to get out of a trafficking situation and go to school and start to do the things that they had always hoped and dreamt of. Another success could be, somebody getting out of their trafficking situation and finding their voice and taking back their power and telling their story in the courts, and somebody being convicted of the crime and not ever being able to harm somebody else. So it can be measured in many different ways. And I think it really depends on that individual and what their goals and their dreams are, and really about us being able to listen to that and walk beside them to ensure that they can reach whatever that goal is for themselves.
Right. So one of the things that you had mentioned about in our community meeting was that it was difficult to find adequate placement when you're able to rescue these individuals, because they're not all women, although that is the highest group. But, and so what is your process to finding places for these victims to go? Because it is specialized, right? It's not like, it's not anyway, just if you can answer that question, if you can understood that question.
It's a really good question too, right? Like we meet with countless young people who are being trafficked, especially during the pandemic. A lot of young people were recruited into a trafficking situation because the supports and services changed significantly. Violence against women shelters decreased their capacity in bed space. Treatment centers were not taking as many people. There were COVID tests that had to be gone through. And we're talking about people who are being trafficked. They're trafficking patrols every single movement they make. So if we can't pull them, if they say, I want to get out of here today, and I can't find them somewhere to go, guess who's going to take them back every single time and find them a place to go? Their trafficker. And that's what we compete with on a regular basis. So when we meet somebody who says, I'm ready to leave, it is a struggle to find them a safe place to go. Here in Durham region, there isn't any crisis beds or like first stage housing that is specific to supporting an individual who is exiting a trafficking situation. They have incredibly complex trauma, and they don't often fit into the types of housing that is available here in Durham region. If they were to go to a violence against women shelter, because of the complex trauma that they've experienced, they're not able to follow some of those rules. They're not able to stay in those places. And when I talk about complex trauma, I mean like these individuals have experience significant trauma on a daily basis. I'm not talking about somebody has just been victimized once, and I'm not excusing when that happens. That's significantly traumatic in itself. But these individuals have been trafficked for days, weeks, months, sometimes years, being controlled by their trafficker and forced to have sex with multiple men every single day without consent. Their trauma is significant. And that's the big piece that needs to be addressed, is that they need to have specialized supports and specialized services and specialized housing to deal with the trauma that they've endured.
So in a sense, we have two crises. We have the crisis of human trafficking and then the crisis of not having anywhere to take them when they are rescued.
Yeah, and oftentimes they'll choose not to come because there's nowhere to bring them.
Right.
And that's, if we can't provide them with safe accommodation, if we can't ensure that, their needs are going to be met, that they'll be able to be connected with financial assistance, that, they'll be able to eat 3 meals a day, if they'll be able to feel safe and protected, that they'll be able to meet people who are going to accept them and care for them and love them. A lot of people, it's a struggle to walk out of that door. Without that, I know when I left my traffickers, it wasn't as simple as saying, oh, you're here to help me. Okay, I'm going to come with you. That's not how it went. I had a police officer come to my hotel room door, and when he told me my traffickers were arrested, I was not happy. I wasn't grateful. I was so fearful. I was angry. He just arrested the 2 people who were meeting every single one of my basic needs. Who was ever going to love me again? Who was ever going to take care of me? Who was going to be able to meet those basic needs for me? And that's what's incredibly important, because if somebody couldn't have done that, I would have went back. And that's what we deal with on a daily basis, is competing with the needs that are being met by a trafficker and being able to meet those needs. And without specialized services and supports, we're unable to meet every single unique need. And I can tell you right now, it's fundamentally unfair to ask somebody to leave their trafficker if you can't find alternative ways to meet every single one of their basic needs. If you can't do that, they'll go back. And when they go back, it's probably going to get a lot worse.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your honesty. Thank you very much for the information. And it's vitally important that we keep this in the forefront of everyone's minds. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does any other member of council have any questions on the delegation? Councilor Bauer?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for sharing this information with us, and particularly specifically for sharing your story. I have heard you speak before, and it's very, very impactful. And thank you for sharing that in the hopes of helping other people. If I remember previous presentations I've heard, and maybe you did talk about it today, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, I remember hearing something about that it is very hard to convict a trafficker. And is that true? And why is that, do you think?
I'll start it and then I'll let Rebecca add anything she wants to, but it is an incredibly high reward, low risk crime. And that's really what it looks like at the end of the day. And it's appealing to traffickers. If somebody's going to commit a crime or get involved in some form of criminal activity to meet their basic needs or make money, you got really a few choices to pick from. The main ones are you can run drugs, you can run guns, or you can run girls. If you get caught with guns or drugs on you, they're obtained properly by police, they're presented in court, it's physical evidence. If you're pulled over and you have a girl in your car, she's my girlfriend, she's my friend. It's really difficult to prove a he said, she said. And that's what it becomes. So traffickers know this. So they oftentimes will choose to traffic people rather than other things, because it's harder to prove in court, because you need the witness, you need the victim to give a statement, to be credible, and to show up and testify in court. And even then, it's still incredibly difficult to get a guilty plea. I can tell you that I have the trauma of testifying, or the trauma of being trafficked, and I have the trauma of testifying in court. They were equally just as traumatic, and without physical evidence to back up my situation, it was incredibly difficult to prove. And my traffickers were not found guilty of human trafficking because of that.
Thank you for that. So then I'm very, very glad when you mentioned earlier that success is not based solely on conviction, because that would be very difficult. So that was my only question. Thank you so much for this presentation.
No problem. I do want to add, though, that we are getting better at convictions because we have a specialized human trafficking unit. And because we've taken on this victim-centered approach, so it allows my role to really focus on victim maintenance, supporting them in meeting all of their basic needs, which frees up the investigators' time to really do their police work and to really investigate and get some of that physical evidence to present in court. And when court comes up, because I'm doing that victim maintenance, that individual has their needs met, hopefully, by the time they go to testify in court and are in a place where they're ready and want to do that.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you for that.
Anything further by any members of council? I'll just have a quick question, and I've heard you speak before a couple of times actually at regional council, and I think at the St. Francis Center at one point. Is there anything we can do, because I don't think this is a crime that is that well known, is there anything that we can see that we may not realize is an indication or something that we can do to help tip off the police when this is happening? What are some of the things that we should be looking for, please?
I think there's a few things. It's hard to, like you said, it's a crime that's oftentimes hard to see because it's often it's a crime that's done behind closed doors. But there are things that you're going to now, like once you start to hear about human trafficking and you start to have that conversation, the conversation is continued, you're going to see little red flags that come up. And the thing I always say to people is if something's happening or if something, your gut's telling you like this doesn't seem right, to call into Crime Stoppers or to call Durham's HT unit because they'll investigate, they'll go check it out. And a lot of things that we do see, oftentimes it's outside of hotels. There's a lot of hotels in Durham region. And oftentimes you'll see things, maybe you're staying in a hotel. I know I travel a lot for work now, and oftentimes I'll be in a hotel. And if I see a lot of individuals coming and going from one hotel, mostly men, all different, I'm going to make a phone call. Something might be going on. So if you see something and your gut is telling you like, I don't know if this is right, or if somebody starts to talk to you about something and you're like, I don't know, maybe it doesn't hurt to put that phone call in because there's people who can go and check in and see, and maybe it's nothing, but what if it was something? So I always encourage people, if there's something that you see that seems off, just call. It's a phone call. And the worst that's going to happen is maybe it wasn't what you thought it was, but at least somebody was able to follow up and check in. But yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of warning signs that can come up for many different things and in different scenarios, but oftentimes the general public, it's going to be harder to see those things. But as parents or people in helping profession, there is things that you might see, if a young person is going missing all the time. If they have an individual every time they come to meet with you, they're driven or they're dropped off and picked up by that same person all the time. They can't book an appointment with you without checking in with this individual. They have unexplained clothes, hair, nails, jewelry. There's different things that can come up that could be indicators or warning signs. They're moving from city to city. They don't really know what city they're in. Things like that are definitely many warning signs that something could potentially be going on. But again, I think you brought up a good point. It is a crime that often happens behind closed doors, which is why it's so important to keep this conversation going. Because a lot of people believe that it doesn't happen in their neighborhoods because they can't see this crime and they might not be impacted by it on a daily basis. But that's why we're here to tell you that this is something that's happening on a daily basis here in Durham region. In every single hotel across Durham region, there are young people being trafficked out of those hotels.
Okay, well, thank you very much for helping to raise our awareness on this. I wonder, Staff Sergeant Carter, are you ready? Are you figured out your technical difficulties on the community safety plan?
Yep, we are ready to go whenever you guys are. I'm just going to excuse
please proceed.
Richardson and Carly Church. Okay, so I just want to say thank you to everyone for the opportunity tonight to present our 2022 community safety plan. So this here, the plan is broken down into property crime, violent crime, community engagement, enhanced communication, roadway safety, and social development. So starting with roadway safety, in 2021, there were 1,961 collisions in Ajax and Pickering. The number one intersection for collisions was at Harwood and Kingston Road. That was a 14% reduction in collisions. In 2022, we've spoken to all of our platoon leaders, and we will be completing weekly initiatives. These initiatives will include noisy muffler campaigns, seatbelt campaigns, ride programs as well. In 2021, there were 8 motor vehicle collisions that were the result of impaired driving. This is a 20% reduction when compared to the year prior. Another tool that we will be utilizing a lot more in 2022 is social media. The goal here is to run campaigns via social media to make the public aware of the consequences of bad driving behavior. Our traffic coordinators, they are current members of Roadwatch. This committee reviews complaints made by the public and attempts to validate the complaints before developing strategies. I'm just going to turn it over now to Sergeant Fisher.
Hello, Your Worship. Sergeant Jason Fisher. I'm a member of the Community Resource Unit here. I work hand in hand closely with Pinham Swift, who I see is doing a presentation right after us. I'm looking forward to that presentation. I'm going to discuss the property crime reduction strategy. We have 4 things that we are focusing on here at the West Division. One is the break and enters. We're going to utilize our crime analysts to help us establish crime patterns here, as well as ensure that our officers are doing great work with canvassing and quality SOCO work, which is our fingerprinting and photographing, which assists us in our break and enters and how to actually find the suspects in those cases. In 2021, we actually cleared 32% of those break and enters, which doesn't seem very high, but it's actually 9% higher than the preceding 5-year trend. The second thing we're focusing on is educating seniors on protecting themselves against theft and fraud, which include a lot of those scams by the CRA, or recently there's been a lot of ones about police officers calling the elderly, telling that their granddaughter or grandson has been arrested and need to send money via Bitcoin, via like Visa cards or gift cards. Last year we had 487 thefts and frauds reported to West Division, which is an increase of 7% from the previous year. The third focus on our property crime strategy is retail thefts, which include, specifically, we have a lot of LCBO thefts, but more importantly, with the gas prices going up now, we have a lot of issues with gas thefts, pump thefts going on, and I'm assuming this is going to increase as we go forward. And the fourth thing that we're going to be working on is our notification of community crime, which is a knock initiatives, and that's when we have issues with break and enters or thefts of vehicles or thefts from vehicles. We set up a little instant command in the area, and we go around to all the neighbors and kind of educate them on how to prevent these crimes from happening to them.
All right, and I'm going to talk about violent crime, which is broken down into 5 categories. The first being compliance checks. We have officers that will conduct checks on offenders who have committed violent offenses or gun-related offenses and are on judicial releases. In 2021, there were 396 compliance checks conducted, which is a 29% decrease, and I think that was because of COVID. The second is proactive patrols. We have urged our platoon leaders to utilize their manpower and resources wisely, meaning that to keep up to date with the trends. The platoon leaders are then required to provide us with weekly divisional reports. There were 1,145 reported violent offenses at West Division in 2021, which is a 1% reduction to the year before. However, there were 19 shootings in Ajax and Pickering in 2021, which is a 12% increase from the year prior. Something that is new to the community safety plan is community healing. This started in 2021, and it is designed to help address the fear and anxiety in communities once a violent offense has taken place. The investigative team will ascend into a community and meet with the residents to answer questions and provide support with victim services. And the last one again is NOC programs, which is what we just spoke about with property crimes.
Thank you, Worship. Our third strategic plan objective is a community engagement, innovation in service delivery, which is to enhance the positive police-community relations and awareness on emerging issues, as well as enhance police engagement with all communities through focused outreach, training, and stakeholder consultation. And there's three things that we are using to establish this. One is our Divisional Community Safety Advisory Council. The Advisory Council works to promote information sharing, positive relations, and awareness of police-related issues between the DRPS and various West Division communities within Ajax and Pickering. We have a total of 5 residents from the town of Ajax and 5 residents from the city of Pickering. And we will be meeting on a monthly basis, and they can be asked to provide regular input and constructive feedback as it relates to policing services in our communities. Unfortunately, because of COVID last year, we were only able to meet 4 times last year, and it's going to be over Zoom, but we're hoping to be in person starting very soon. The second thing is to have totally engaged community, diversity, competent members. The purpose of the initiative is to proactively engage with various diverse populations within the local community through outreach initiatives. The goal is to establish sustainable relationships and learn more about cultural backgrounds of the residents living in the West Division. Therefore, it will increase our awareness and diversity competency of members assigned to the West Division. We established the West Division Equity and Inclusion Working Group, and it was expanded to its capacity and now has a community engagement team embedded within the equity and diversity team. In 2021, we attended over 150 community events, which represents an increase of over 200% compared to the year prior. The third part of that strategy is our social media strategy, which we're trying to get increase our social media's ability to increase our opportunities to enhance the visibility of the DRPS within the community. The West Division will strategically influence the use of Twitter, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to engage the use of the platform to connect with residents. We understand that different age groups use different platforms. So right now we only have access to Twitter at West Division, but expanding to those other social media platforms will help us with providing accurate information, educating citizens, and providing crime trends throughout the year.
And the next objective is enhanced communication. This is a valuable piece, and it is a commitment to share communication both internally and externally in a timely fashion. Internally, we share information by communicating regularly with our platoon supervisors and our members here at West Division. We talk about the trends that we see, we talk about community engagement, and we talk about commitments that we need to meet. Externally, we enhance our communication by meeting with counselors regularly and with community partners to attempt to meet any concerns.
And our final strategic plan objective is our social development, identifying, prioritizing, and strengthening partnerships to support vulnerable and marginalized members of the community. 3 parts to that. First part is our Durham Connect. The Durham Connect is a group of 32 agencies that meet regularly to share information about people and family in need within the Ajax Pickering area. Our second is our Unsheltered, is a strategy that will be developed in response to increasing prevalence of individuals who are experiencing unshelteredness within town of Ajax as well as the city of Pickering. Inspector Yamada and Staff Sergeant Carter have organized a community partners group to address the unsheltered community concerns, specifically in the town of Ajax. And the third part of that strategic plan is our use of the 211.ca, which will help to decrease the need for police involvement where community members are solely seeking community or social service assistance.
That is it. We tried to go as fast as we possibly could to fit in our 5 minutes. But that is our 2022 community safety plan.
Thank you very much for your delegation. Very much appreciated. The first person on my speaker list is Councillor Crawford.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming tonight. I think I remember the acting chief coming to council not too long ago, talking about standardizing a report that would be going out to local municipalities. I know Inspector Yamada is not around, so maybe this isn't a fair question to ask, but I'm just wondering if you know of this standardized report and is it in effect now?
I personally do not know about that. If you would like, I could look into that tomorrow and let you know as soon as possible.
Yeah, totally fair. I just wondered, it was just something that I remembered I'd heard just recently. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Any other member of council have any questions based on the delegation? Councillor Tyler Moore.
Thank you, Your Worship. Very quickly, thank you so much for both presentations tonight. Always impactful. My question is voice cloning, I know you mentioned a lot of different fraud, especially with seniors. Is voice cloning an urban myth? Is that something that's actually happening? That's when they actually clone the granddaughter's voice and call the it's really unsettling, the story I heard. Is that really a thing? Do you know anything about that?
I can tell you, I've never heard of that.
Okay, good.
So I'm assuming that's an urban myth. Yeah.
Good. Okay. I don't want to promote it. I just we'll leave it at that. I've heard about this
myself.
Okay, great. That's a great answer. Thank you, Worship, and that's all I have to say.
Okay. Any other member of council? Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to the presenters, I guess. It's a group of them. So at the beginning of the presentation, you said the most dangerous intersection was actually Highway 2 and Harwood. Is that correct?
Yep.
In Ajax, yes. In Durham Region, it's actually Brock Road and Highway 2 in Pickering. But in terms of Ajax, it is Harwood and Kingston Road.
So it's not Salem and 2, because since we joined council, I think for 3 years in a row, it was Highway 2 and Salem. Did that get better?
According to my list here, Salem and 2 is number 4. So yeah. So
hey, I'll take it. Normally, again, it's been on that list for a while. Yeah, so I'm glad that whatever you guys are doing, I'm glad you guys are doing it because again, that was a problem intersection for a very long time.
It's downgraded apparently to number 4.
Well, whatever you're doing, then please apply it across the board because that's great news. So that's it. Again, I was just very curious because again, I always was led to believe that was like for a long time the most dangerous intersection in Durham. So I'm glad that we have started to change behavior. So that's all, Chair. Thank you.
And I was just going to say one thing, and we're hoping with the 407 extension, the 412 opening up, it might start pushing traffic away from those intersections. So we're going to do a little more analyzing of that once the next couple of months and see if that is true. It just makes sense, common sense that it probably will be less traffic going through because people can take the much faster 412 down to the 401. So
good. You done, Councillor Lee? Okay, Councillor Bauer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Lots of information for sure. Some of my questions have already been answered, but you mentioned, you talked a little bit about noisy mufflers, seatbelts, ride program. So are you talking about like Blitz? And I think that I've seen an increase in the use of social media by West Division. I think it's awesome. So is that the type of stuff that you would be promoting or doing blitzes on or campaigns? Could you talk about that, please?
Yeah, we can talk about that. So I'm in charge of our traffic unit here, and they are very focused on those specific things because they're quite the issue right now in Ajax. And we're also obviously more concerned because of spring and summertime, and that's when all those vehicles come out. So I can tell you right now, Constable Card and Constable Torchevilla are definitely focusing on that specifically. And we're actually doing a little pilot project right now using officers from the front line to assist them to help them with their job because there's obviously so many of these infractions happening all the time. So,
right. Okay. Thank you. No, great presentation. Thank you so much. That's it for me, Chair.
Okay, any other member of council have any questions? I just want to follow up quickly on, thank you for your presentation on Councilor Lee's question about the reduction. That is not too far from the red light camera that Durham Region has at Salem, Pickering Beach, and Bailey. I know there's a fallout effect to those of a couple of kilometers. Have you seen any evidence of that fallout effect from some of the red light cameras?
I'm going to say those cameras are still, I think, too new right now to get all the proper information from them, but we are analyzing that information. I mean, once I have that information, I can definitely send it to you. And also there's obviously a speed camera as well, right at Ajax High. So between that and the red light camera, I think it's definitely doing its job properly, especially on that road. And especially with all those extra condos and apartment buildings going in, we're just going to have more and more traffic going through there.
Well, and I agree, there is going to be more and more traffic with the amount of development we have, and that's why I would really like to see that red light camera program expanded to more. The issue is we don't have a lot of regional roads in Ajax, but still, I mean, if we have some evidence that it's working, how long do you think is a reasonable amount of time before we can start measuring that and maybe go back to the region to look at supplementing the program?
For our next traffic safety meeting, I can definitely bring that up and I can definitely get that information for you. I'm sure that information should be coming out very shortly because, it has been going on for a while now, just to see the difference between the traffic collisions, high risk traffic intersections and speeding. Like you said, just even Kingston and Salem being going down to number 4 when it was number 1 is probably, like you said, is probably an effect of that red light as well. Camera.
Okay, well, I have been watching for some sort of evidence, so that's why I asked the question. It boggles my mind that Westney and McGill/Delaney is a red light camera and is the highest volume red light camera in the region of Durham. Yet I've never seen an accident there ever. But some of these others, maybe part of this analysis and feedback to the region could be maybe looking at relocating some of these to where we are having these high collision intersections.
No, we definitely agree with that for sure. And we'll obviously work with the town of Ajax and council on anywhere you guys put them. So. Okay.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the feedback and look forward to your next one. Thanks.
Thank you.
Moving on to our last presentation, item 5.7, HMS Ajax River Plate Veterans Association visit. We have Poonam Swift, Corporate and Community Festivals and Events Coordinator, and Jennifer Larman, Administrative Assistant to moi. Whenever you're ready. Oh, you're muted, Poonam. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Collier, members of council, staff, and members of the public. I'm Poonam Swift, and I'm joined today by Jennifer Larman. The two of us together are going to present on a week-long of activities that we've put together. So we're excited that both the CEO's office as well as the Recreation, Culture, and Community Development Department got to work together again and put together this week-long visit. For those of you, just some background, the HMS Ajax and River Plate Veterans Associations last visited us in 2016. So they were supposed to come a couple years ago, but due to COVID, it got pushed. And we're so excited that they can actually come and visit us this year. So we'll just talk a little bit about the week long of activities that we have. A couple of things we just wanted to say that feel free to interrupt us along the way if you have any questions, but there's always going to be a time at the end as well to ask any questions. But yeah, feel free to do whatever you guys are comfortable with. So without any further ado, we'll get started and I'll pass it over to Jen and if we can get to the next slide.
Great. Thanks, Poonam. And hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. And so from June the 18th to the 25th, the HMS Ajax and River Plate Veterans Association members will be visiting the town of Ajax. There will be approximately 25 to 30 visitors, including association members and their families. And this number includes 11 members that served on the 8th HMS Ajax. Next slide, please.
Okay. So for some, the activities will begin at the Mayor's Gala on Saturday, June 18th. For others, the official day will start on June 19th, which we are calling kind of our official welcome /barbecue. So that event will happen at Ajax Town Hall and
it'll run from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. The morning will start with an Indigenous welcome and presentations in council chambers. We do have the River Plate room set aside in case the construction is not complete. After the presentations, my apologies. So during the Indigenous welcome and presentations, we will be hosting a few street signs to veterans that are visiting us but don't have dedications throughout the week that Jen will discuss later on in the presentation. And after the presentations, we'll do a tour around Town Hall, just give them a little bit of an understanding of the different areas that we have in Town Hall. After that, we will head outside to Heritage Square. So the Royal Canadian Legion and the town of Ajax are partnering to put some banners that are a tribute to the HMS Ajax Veterans Association. So we will be unveiling those for the association to see. After the unveiling of that, we will have everybody in Heritage Square to do a barbecue lunch with some live music. One of the requests that we got was if we could include the public. So we had discussed it as a team, and we said that this would be a great way to include the public to be able to meet the different veterans that are visiting, since there is a handful of them that will be visiting with us. So after lunch, we will have a public welcome, which will happen at approximately 2:30. And we'll continue to have the live music, and we'll have introductions on the stage so that everybody kind of understands why they're there, who they're here to see. And then we will encourage them to meet and mix and mingle with the public and the veterans that are going to be there. Next slide.
Okay, so there will be multiple street dedications and visits planned to honor the visiting association members, which will take place over 2 days. The first day will be Tuesday, June 21st, and we will be visiting 5 streets in wards 1 and 2 in North Ajax. The second day being Thursday, June 23rd, when we will visit 7 streets in wards 1 and 3 in South Ajax. Both dates will run from approximately 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and we'll be traveling on a chartered bus donated by DRT, and this will include an indoor lunch break. Next slide, please. The week will conclude on June 25th with farewell events starting at 10 a.m. with a tree planting ceremony and a dedication at the Indigenous Community and Healing Garden. The tree being planted has also generously been donated by the HMS Association, along with support from the Royal Navy and Royal Marines charity. Next slide, please.
After the tree planting and ceremony, we're going to head back over to the Legion. Something else that they had asked us to look into was the possibility of a small parade. So we, again, talked about it as a team and decided that we will put on a mini parade that will be just for the members that are attending. So no public will be invited to this one as of right now, just to kind of keep up with COVID protocols and afterwards in the space and things like that. So the parade will begin at 12 o'clock. And it'll travel down Hunt Street, starting at Monarch. We may extend that just a little bit, but I'm just in conversation actually with the RPS, as Sergeant Fisher mentioned. So we're just going to finalize that final detail about where we're going to start, and it'll head down Hunt Street and lead back into the Royal Canadian Legion. So after the parade, in the parade, we'll have, we're going to have the color guards. We hope that Mayor and Council will be there to also be a part of it. Obviously, the veterans are going to be taking part. There's also a local group of Ajax veterans that are going to be invited through the Royal Canadian Legion themselves. And we've got a 5-ton tanker truck from the Oshawa Museum that will be joining us. So really excited to be able to put something on for them that they hold so dear to them. So we're happy to be able to do that for them. After the parade, we will do a ceremony at the Anchor, which includes a wreath laying and a presentation to the Harwood Cadets. So there will be a wreath available for Council to lay, as well as one for the HMS Ajax and River Plate Veterans Association to lay as well. After the ceremony is done, we will head inside to the Legion, where we will host a reception for them beginning at 1:30. So that'll include things like a welcome and introductions. We will be including community representatives as well. So we're currently working with the equity coordinator to just make sure that the proper groups and community representatives are included, because both HMS Association as well as the town, we're really excited to have the two groups meet and mingle and learn about what each group does in their communities, as well as what, the HMS Association and Veterans Group has done for us in the past. So it's a good way to kind of build that connection for both the community and for them. We'll have live music, so more like background music for people to kind of just listen to while they're eating. There will be a sit-down 3-course lunch. Of course, mix and mingling. I have some fun activities planned with the team. So we're going to do a trivia of some sort to have everybody, that way everybody can get to know each other, as well as a farewell and wrap up. And we're hoping to wrap up around 4:30 to the night. And then that'll end their week as they are planning on heading out on the 26th. Next slide. So that's it. It was quick, but a full week of staff. So we'd like to open up the floor to anybody if anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Obviously, somebody's at the door here, so I had to close my door. Do we have any questions from council? You were very thorough. I'm not going to ask questions. I just want to thank you. I know you've both put in a huge amount of work on this. Jen's been keeping me up to date fairly frequently on what's been happening. It's going to be great to be together in person. It's a great opportunity to celebrate a big part of our history as well. It's going to be amazing. So thank you for all your hard work on this, Poonam and Jen. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And that ends our delegations. So just let me get back to our agenda. Moving on to correspondence. I have moved by Councillor Khan, second by Councillor Crawford, that items of correspondence be approved. Do we have any polls? Councillor Bauer?
Thank you, Mayor Collier. Yes, I'd like to pull item number 8.
Okay.
The letter from the Ajax Pickering Road Watch.
Okay, anything further? Any further polls? Okay, on the balance, those in favor of receipt? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That carries. Councillor Bauer, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Road Watch is such a hardworking group made up of volunteers and members of council sit on that committee. Transportation staff from the town sit on that committee, as well as Pickering. And we really support this group in many ways. We provide funding. We talk about Road Watch and their mission in our newsletters, in our ward meetings, at town halls, various events. And the program that they are offering or talking about in this letter, I think meets a request from many of our residents who I'm sure all of us have received messages from time to time about, we really need to tell some of the drivers in our neighborhoods to slow down. They're going too fast. There's kids out in the yards playing. We need to put a sign in the yard. And some people actually have them through realtors or other organizations, but they're not really, permitted. So this program, if Mr. Hannon's on the line, maybe he could answer this question. So I'm seeking this to be endorsed by council because I think it's a very smart idea and it makes sense. And I know we do have sign bylaw in town, and if maybe bylaw could address sort of how this would fit in for us to be able to endorse this program in Ajax.
Okay, and I understand Marilyn Crawford is seconding.
Oh, yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Hannon, are you able to answer that, please?
Through your worship, yes, I can. So there is a provision in our temporary sign bylaw that allows that for a program that is sponsored, or there's an exemption that for a program that or activity that is either managed or partnered with the town, then it would be considered to be an exemption under the sign bylaw. There's a couple of examples, like we have the accessibility trick or treat signs that we allow. As long as it's endorsed by council with the commitment this council has of having 2 members on the Road Watch committee and having a staff member that's allocated to that committee as well, I think it's an easy argument that if council endorses this policy, that it would meet the requirements of the exemption in the bylaw.
Okay. Councilor Bauer?
Thank you. Yeah, so I think it's something that would our residents would appreciate. I know sitting in Road Watch meetings, the members of the committee and our traffic safety officers are very excited about the idea of using these types of signs for promotion of the program, for education to our residents, and just as a community engagement and community builder. So I would love to endorse this program. So I ask for your support. And I want to say thank you to Regional Councillor Crawford and also Councillor Tyler Moran. We all sit on that committee, and you know, it's important. It's something that we work. We really want this committee to succeed. Thank you. That's
Councillor Crawford, as a seconder, did you want to speak to it before I open it up?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say that in the last Road Watch meeting, the police were very excited to be able to promote this sign program because they often have people contact them about speeding on their local roads. And their intention is to have these signs in their trunks so that when they're at the resident's home, they can just say, listen, we can use this sign. It does have the police logo on it along with Road Watch. So it does kind of carry a little bit of weight there with the police logo. So they are fully supportive of this. And so I think it's a good program for them to start with.
Okay. Any members of council have any questions on the motion to endorse? Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Unrelated, but I think very much related to the Road Watch. How much are those digital boards that show the speed? Very similar to the ones we have for ASE. I just find, like, just personally speaking, these signs, I understand will, you know, someone will take notice of them, hopefully, and hopefully adjust their speed accordingly. But I did find a really good deterrent, even before our ASC went up, were those speed boards. And I don't, you know, like just this really small ones. I'm just wondering if I guess planning or staff or traffic, what are, like, just even a rough estimate, how much are those? Because I think I'd love to see more of those around town, even more so than these signs.
Okay, well, back when I was a councillor on Road Watch, there were 5,000 each, but I don't know what they are today. Maybe, is there a staff person, Mr. Clerk, that you could, Mr. Romanowski, I see you.
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, to Councillor Lee through the chair. I don't know the exact value, but they are definitely a $3,000 or $4,000 per unit. We do have some extra boards. But this sounds like a campaign related to, more a localized area or on individuals' lawns throughout the community. We do have the ASE and the Community Safety Zone program in play, and definitely those that signage with the message at the bottom definitely is a useful tool within the neighborhoods to prepare them for oncoming ASE program or just general traffic calming elements that the signage provides. I can get you the exact number on those digital display boards and send you a message with regard to that. But they are expensive.
That'd be great. And if you can also include our current inventory as well, like the total amount that we have as a town. It's just something, now that I hear Councillor Bowers and Crawford speak about this, it is something that I think is a very useful tool, and hopefully we can expand. So thank you, Mr. Romanowski, and thank you, Chair, for the question.
Okay, anything further? Members of council? I just want to follow up with Mr. Hannon on the time frame. In the report, in the letter, it says the program runs from May 1st to September 30th. Is the intent on September 30th, when the program ends, so will the exclusion from our bylaw before the winter months and these get lost in snowbanks, or what's the plan?
Your Worship, that's correct. The committee themselves would be explaining to the individuals that want the signs that they would be recollected at the end of the program and be reused at a different period.
Perfect. Thank you very much. On the motion to endorse, anything further from council? Nope. Those in favor? None opposed. That is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. That completes correspondence. Sorry, let me just get back to my agenda here. Moving on to reports. We have the Community Affairs and Planning Committee. Sorry, folks, just take me a second to get back to the proper place. Moved by Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Bauer, that the Community Affairs and Planning Committee reports from April 4th, 2020, the Community Affairs and Planning Committee report dated April 4th, 2022 be adopted. Questions or comments on the CAP report? Nope. Those in favor of receipt or approval? I see all hands. That is carried. Moving on to the General Government Committee, 7.2.1, moved by Councillor Khan, second by Councillor Crawford, that the General Government Committee report dated April 11th, 2022 be adopted. Question or comments? None. Those in favor of approval? That is carried. Next is 7.3 Summary Advisory Committee Reports, moved by Councillor Khan, second by Councillor Bauer, that the Summary of Advisory Committee Activities Report dated April 19, 2022, as attached to the meeting agenda be received for information, and then the recommendations contained therein be referred to staff where applicable. Questions or comments on advisory committees? Nope. Those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to regional council reports. Do we have any regional council reports? Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to bring to Council's attention that at Works Committee, a couple of months ago, we had talked about, there had been some correspondence from the Good Roads Committee around the exhaust, the exhaust noise from cars. And so I had mentioned, and our motion was in the Works Committee, that had been endorsed by the town of Ajax. And I had suggested that the Ajax, or that the region actually put a motion together to determine kind of, next steps and kind of reinforce what everybody else was really saying. And so they did, much to my surprise. And it was passed at the Works. And they've been asking. It's in the Works Committee. It's a very long report, but I'll just give you some of the highlights. That they were asking amendments to the Highway Traffic Act, and the police has given up upwards of 500, I think, in 2020 tickets out for loud exhausts or modified exhausts. Mufflers, and the fees were like $85, ranging up to $100. This amendment would be for offenses for admissions for non-commercial motor vehicles will be no less than $300 and no more than $1,000. And for commercial motor vehicles, the fine would be no less than $400 and no more than $20,000. It's quite a substantial jump in the fine. Currently, there's no demerit points or anything for that. But the other thing too is that we talk about admissions. We talk about one of our biggest factors for greenhouse emissions is vehicles, and if they're taking the catalytic converter off their machines, then it really is defeating all the purposes that the region and all of the other municipalities are trying to do to reduce the admissions. So they really need to come up with some way of governing those admissions, and this has all been put into their motion. So it's a lengthy, wordy motion, but I just wanted to say that I was happy that the region was willing to put a stand for it, and it's a good motion. I also wanted to mention too that at Works, we talked about Clarington is getting a clear garbage bag pilot program I believe they tried this a few years ago and residents got really ticked. I think it went right across Durham region. So they're going to try it again in Clarington. And it's going to be I think it's only going to run for about 6 months. And I think it's going to happen after the election. I wanted to mention too that at Transit, we had a presentation on the shelter design for the BRT going down Highway 2. They had a survey that was running from March the 7th to the 25th. 375 people took part of it. 211 comments were made on the design options, and 160 comments were given their opinions on what they should do with the shelters. I don't know if they were good opinions or not good opinions. Anyway, if you're interested in that, that's all covered in the works report. And committee of whole, we had a presentation on electric scooter bylaw that was being developed by the region, allowing them, it would go under the same sort of umbrella as electric bikes. And so they're in the process of that being done. And I think they were kind of alluding to the fact that they would like to be able to offer this to residents like as a regional project. So a company would come in, similar to the bikes in Toronto, where you can just hop on a bike and ride your bike to some place that is owned by the Toronto, and then put it back again at the next stop. And I think that's kind of where they want to go with this. Although we didn't really get into the nitty gritty on that. It was more about just the allowance of the electric scooters. So as I understand it now, all the lower tier municipalities are looking at the exact same inclusion for their bylaw, and that may be confirmed by Mr. Hannon. I'm not sure. Sorry, I can't talk anymore. Sorry. But that's my report. I know it's maybe lacking in a few details, but that's kind of the. Oh, and then one more thing. Report from Vision Zero. I wanted to say that February was the lowest speed camera charge volume month so far since the program started. So that means the program is working. Change behavior is working well. And we're also piloting a leading pedestrian interval location. And there are several places across Durham region. However, in Ajax, it's going to be at Harwood and Hunt and Harwood and King's Crescent, which means it'll be a four-way, all the stops, and then the pedestrian light goes on first, giving an opportunity for pedestrians to get a jump on going across the road while all the traffic is stopped. There was no traffic. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to go any further than that. Anyway, so it's good news. This program is working. I've had a few questions around revenue and the ASC cameras and the red light cameras. I actually emailed Commissioner Taylor to find out what the revenue had been received. She had mentioned that several people have asked her that question. So she is in the process of getting a report together that will come back to Regional Council on the revenues from the ASC cameras and red light cameras. That's it. Thank you, Your Worship.
Any other Regional Council reports? Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. So planning in Vision Durham goes on, and we just reviewed the different land needs this year, the different growth management scenarios. The town obviously have taken our position that scenario 5. I've been told some people find that irresponsible, but so be it.
Reckless, irresponsible.
Sorry, reckless. Thank you. Sorry, yeah. in spite of our planners who have degrees in this and their recommendations. But that said, I imagine this planning meeting coming up will actually be a very pivotal one because that's when staff will be coming forth with their recommendations. I'm sure there'll be a lot of delegates. I'm sure there'll be a lot of lively debate. So if you want to come to the meeting, please come. I think it's going to be on May 3rd, and it's going to be a hootenanny, to say the least. I can't wait for this to be done. As quite honestly, as the representative of the planning committee, this was a lot to process. It was a very good learning experience to go through all this, but I am done with Envision Durham, and I'm hoping to just be done with it. So anyways, it's going to be a big meeting on, like I said, May 3rd. So please come by and support Scenario 5. Thank you, Chair.
I don't believe I've ever heard the word hootenanny in a council meeting ever before. There you go. I don't have much to add.
From the youngest counselor, I will add. From the youngest counselor.
Maybe that's why. Yeah, I don't have much to add. You summarized the electric scooter item nicely. I will say under notice of motion tonight, Councilor Lee and I do have a motion coming forward asking staff to look into that at the town level. So I'll give you that bit of information. And just as far as the Envision Durham goes that Councilor Lee spoke about, Councilor Dias and I tomorrow are submitting a motion requesting Scenario 5 support from the region for the next regional council meeting. So I'm interested to see what the planning staff bring forward, but we'll be having that motion come forward, which mirrors our Town of Ajax motion that we've already done on Scenario 5. So any questions on the regional council reports? Everybody's very thorough, very thorough. I have the motion moved by Councillor Crawford, second by Councillor Lee, that the regional council reports of April 19th, 2022 be received for information. Those in favor of receipt, please raise your hands. I see all 5. That is carried. Thank you. Next, business arising from notice of motion, item 9.1, ending unfair rent increases of new builds, moved by regional councillor Crawford and second by Councillor Tyler Morin. Please go ahead, Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Your Worship. We've had many discussions through our community meetings around the price of housing. It got us thinking that, it leaves young families with no options but to rent. And what we found out when we got together with Sam to talk about this motion, what she discovered was there's rent control for homes and apartments and whatnot prior to 2018, but there is no rent control on any new builds from 2018. And from the Stats Canada in this motion, you can see that the average rents have increased 4.3% in 2-bedroom units, 12.9% in 3-bedroom units. And I don't know how a young family can save for a mortgage if their rents are going up that much in these new builds. So we simply are asking that the province treat the new builds from 2018 like they treat the builds prior to 2018, and that this be circulated, of course, to the big city mayors, the region of Durham, and also the lower tier municipalities. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Bauer is the seconder. Councillor Lee is the seconder. Did you want to speak to this?
I believe Councillor Tyler Morton, sir.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Councillor Crawford and Councillor Tyler Morton, please go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. The housing crisis is something dear to my heart, and I think dear to everyone's heart. And I think when we say it, it's framed around buying a home. We can't afford to buy a home, but it's getting wider. It's getting to the point now where renters are being affected as well. You hear our friends say, oh, we got the place, like there's a bidding war for renters. So I'm not, I believe in the spirit of capitalism. I don't mean to put caps on anything, but I think it's going to take 1,000 different nudges to get through this. And this is one small thing from this council. Happy to support this. I think it's very important. Just trying to be fair. If you're a homeowner out there and you've worked hard and you have other property, great, let's keep that going. But we all have to do something, even a little bit. And I think the distinction with the 2018 date as being wide open for rent increases. That can be very difficult to a young family just to survive, never mind even saving. So happy to support and would really appreciate the support of our council colleagues. Thank you, Your Worship.
You're welcome. Further, Councillor Lee.
I want to thank both Councillor Regional Councillor Crawford and Councillor Tyler Morin for bringing this up. This is very near and dear to my heart. I have a constituent, we'll call him S. Lee, who himself went through a 21.7391% increase. And the fact of the matter is there's nothing he could do but pay that increase because when he went to search for other places, there was no supply. And right now, the landlords have a lot of power, even beyond what this motion is covering, because at the end of the day, they can always just threaten to sell the place, and the tenant has no rights whatsoever except to just figure it out. And like I said, housing stability is at an all-time low. This constituent, we'll call him Sterling L, was absolutely stressed out, and he makes very good money with his wife, but they themselves found themselves at the mercy of their landlord. So anything we can do to help renters through what I imagine is going to be a very tough time over the next few years is a welcome change. So I fully support this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? No, hearing, seeing none. Those in favor, those in support, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Carries unanimously. Moving on to our next notice of motion, we have developing a green fleet strategy moved by Councillor Lee. What a coincidence. And second by Councillor Bauer. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just read the resolution. Be resolved that Ajax direct operations environmental services to embark on the development of a green fleet strategy within the next 1 to 2 years, and the motion be circulated to the Clean Air Partnership. Just speaking at it very quickly, Cameron Richardson did a phenomenal job setting the building standards for the town over the next 30, 50 years to get us to net zero. But one thing he did say that really stuck out was the buildings will absolutely help a lot. But at the end of the day, it's the emissions from vehicles that remain one of the largest pollutants and carbon generators. So this was just very much a continuation of the climate emergency, the building standards. Now let's work on our fleet. And I think there's a great opportunity for us. I think we're doing a lot of the work now. I think, we're looking to buy hybrid cars. We're looking to buy electric cars, but especially for cars, I'm speaking as an electric vehicle driver, I think a lot of driving force town staff within the town can be fully achieved with a fully electric car. And I'm just hoping we start formulating a strategy to formalize this so that we can meet these aggressive targets we had set to ourselves. We can meet the race to zero. And I would love council support on that. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bauer is the seconder.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, thank you, Regional Councillor Sterling L. This is a very smart motion. I'm happy to second it. It wasn't really that long ago that an electric vehicle was, a rarity. It was like, oh, wow, right? Or only rich people can buy them, etc. And to see charging stations, was like, what's that? But, as everyone sort of smartens up or becomes more cognizant of what we need to do to save our planet, it's more common, and it's now an achievable goal for many people to move in that direction. And, we're seeing more electric cars, more hybrids, and, we've increased the number of charging stations around our town too, just in our term of council. So we're really on the right path. And I think we just need to keep going. So I love this motion and happy to support it. Thank you.
Further, Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wondered that it's not being forwarded to anyone except to the Clean Air Partnership. And I'm wondering if it could be forwarded to the Durham Region Roundtable for Climate Control.
Yeah, I'm happy to. That's actually a really good call. We actually probably should circulate it to all the other Durham Region municipalities as well, just because we do that for all our motions. So thank you, Councillor Regional Councillor Crawford. I will accept that as a friendly if Councillor Bauer is okay with that.
Councillor Bauer?
Absolutely, thank you, yes.
We're all friendly here. Further, Mr. Crawford?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I just want to ask the mover and the seconder I absolutely support this, but is the intent also, I mean, electric vehicles have higher upfront costs, but lower emissions, obviously, but also lower operating and maintenance expenses. Is your intent of the report or the action plan to also examine those costs? And so we can sort of see the long-term paybacks of the program?
Quite honestly, no. I'm happy to include that in this motion. Specifically, I just wanted to ensure, like you said, it's going to be a natural byproduct and like a natural positive byproduct of this. But I just wanted to ensure the staff had a strategy in mind so that, you know, in 15 years, we're not thinking to ourselves, oh yeah, by the way, we should start doing this now. So I think that's why the even time frame is kept quite flexible, 1 to 2 years. I'm hoping, you know, beginning of our next term, you know, whoever the council may be at the time, is something that they can push forward. But it's kept relatively open-ended of just ensuring that we have a strategy. But the costs, I'm happy to include on the motion as well.
Yeah, I just think that there are other benefits in addition to the greenhouse gas reduction. And even those would be accentuated even more if the upper levels of government would kick back some of that carbon tax in the form of incentives to get people into electric vehicles. So let's see. Just wanted to put that out. Anything further by members of council? No? Being none, those in favor of approval? Unanimous. That carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back up here. Oops, wrong one. Moving on to bylaws. Sorry, I lost my place. Just one moment. Moved by Councillor Bauer, second by Councillor Tyler Morin, that bylaw number 28-2022 to 30-2022 be read a first, second, third time and passed. Any questions on the bylaws? Nope. Those in favor of approval of the bylaws? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's carried. Thank you. Is there any notice of the motion? Councillor Lee, do you want to discuss the one I already mentioned?
It was ultimately your motion, so I thought you were going to bring it up, to be honest. But it's going to be moved by Mayor Crawford, seconded by Mayor Collier, seconded by myself, in regards to just the examination of the feasibility of the scooter program. If that was the kind of the gist of the motion, right? No, sorry, it was to ensure our bylaw. We had a bylaw in place that at least lined up with the regions to set one up because we need that before we can even introduce e-scooters into the local roads, I guess, of Ajax.
Correct. And I haven't seen the bylaw yet, but I imagine it'll have some sort of analysis of whether there's a business plan or something else, and it's something that we should do. But I think anything that we can do to get people out of their cars, make it easier for them to get around is something we want to look at. So that will be coming at the next meeting. Any other notice of motion? No? Any new business or announcements? I saw Councillor Lee first and Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Chair. This is actually to staff. The new planning bill that the government was passing, did we ever submit comments to that? Because I thought they were due like this month.
Director Romanowski?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Lee. We haven't submitted comments yet. We have a report coming forward to the May 4th CAP meeting.
Great.
We won't release comments until council's reviewed the comments and it's gone through that process. The deadline for the comments, I guess, is April 29th, even though the bills received, I guess, royal assent last week in some regards. So we are commenting. We've prepared our comments. They're under review and will be coming forward on May 4th.
But ultimately, our comments will be coming in after they close off. I mean, I understand, listen, the theatrics, like you said, they've already received royal assent. But would our comments be received after the date they had prescribed?
I think in talking with communications and policy staff, if we're not going to be providing our comments, because we have to go to council first to present our comments to them, we will be, I think we'll be writing a letter to the ministry to inform them of our timeline associated with our commenting and that they should expect our comments following staff going through the procedure that we go through in order to have our comments endorsed.
Okay, that's appreciated. Thank you. Thank you, Director Romanowski. Chair, in terms of new announcements, I do have one. Tomorrow at regional headquarters, we'll be unveiling our brand new bike rack outside regional headquarters. For those of you who'd like to join the unveiling, it'll be at 11 a.m. I understand the irony of me being part of the group that is unveiling a bike rack on regional council. Trust me, it's not lost on me, but this is just the way it is, I guess. So yes, anyone who wants to join, it'll be 11 a.m. at regional headquarters.
Excellent. Councillor Khan, then Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Big news for Ward 2. If anybody has been been north of Harwood by the Spiceland Plaza, you'll see there's a lot of activity there. The Haskell crossing is almost completed. All the painting on the roads are completed, and all the concrete work, they've been working for the last 2 weeks diligently on it. And we only need to have the actual lights going up. Would it be appropriate, Mr. Mayor, that I can ask when the lights are going to go on at this point?
I think it would be appropriate. Is that Mr. Romanowski again?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Khan. I didn't follow up with Mr. Ruddy on this today, but I can. But based on what I heard last week is we should have the lights installed, or at least installed and tested, hoping this week or early next week. Just waiting for a few other components that go along with mounting them on the current arms that are installed there as of right now.
Thank you, Director. Even with the line painting on the road that's changed, the traffic has eased up so much. It's helped so much with the turns and everything. So this took about 3 years of a lot of hard work from staff, and just want you to know that we really appreciate it. Thank you very much. So I'm very, very, very happy to see that, as you all can imagine. Thanks again. Yes. Number 2, May 2nd, we will be hoisting the Armenian flag at Heritage Square at it's May 2nd at around 11 a.m. That's a Monday, to support our friend George K., who recently just had a delegation. So 11 o'clock on Monday. And then Jewish Heritage Month, we'll be celebrating this in May. We'll be proclaiming May as Jewish Heritage Month. We'll be welcoming the B'nai B'rith, Canada's oldest independent Jewish human rights organization, to Ajax, the Ajax Council on May 16th. We'll be bringing a delegation. So we'll also be hosting a Holocaust education event in May. And we'll be displaying a menorah in Ajax Town Hall during Hanukkah. So that's a lot of good stuff. I'm sorry to be the spiritual one here, but again, today is the 18th day of Ramadan. So by next time we are on council, it will be eating season again. So tomorrow, Ajax Council, spearheaded by our dear Mayor Collier, will be presenting iftar to the Muslim community at North Ajax at the Masjid Quba. And all are invited. Council will be there to celebrate with the worshippers at the masjid. And again, all are invited. So those are my business announcements, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
And that is at 7:45 p.m., Councillor Khan.
Thank you very much.
There you go. Next, Regional Councillor Crawford.
Very quickly, thank you, Your Worship. I want to thank everyone for coming out and helping to clean up the town today. Ward 2 and Ward 3 were recognized. Just want to let you know, Ward 1 was out there collecting garbage too, just so you know. Thank you.
And the mayor is out there too.
I didn't see no pics.
But in Ward 2.
Thank you.
I just want to wrap it up with this is our final meeting for an important member of our staff. Our deputy clerk, Mr. Alex Harris, is moving on. I'll say bigger. I'm not going to say better things, but I'll say bigger things. Alex, it's been great to have you. You've managed the last election. You've done so much here at the town. I'm hoping we can maybe attract you back later on down the road. but I just want to, on behalf of myself and council and probably all staff, and we'll all thank you again tomorrow at your going away lunch. Thank you for everything you've done, keeping us all in line, running our meetings, putting everything together. Nothing has gone unnoticed, and you've done an amazing job. So yeah, I see council clapping. Thank you for everything, and we wish you all the best with your new position as the regional clerk at the region of Durham. So this is goodbye from Ajax, but we will still see you at the region on a regular basis. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mayor Collier, and it's been a pleasure to serve this council and the previous over the 6 years that I've been here. I won't say too much to extend this meeting other than that I'm incredibly proud to have been part of the Ajax team, and I'm going to miss you guys very much.
I think we can say ditto. Moving on to our next item. The confirming bylaw, moved by Councillor Khan, second by Councillor Crawford, the bylaw number 31-2022 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ajax at its meeting held on April 19, 2022, be read a first, second, third time and passed. Those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. And finally, moved by Councillor Bauer, second by Councillor Crawford, that the April 19, 2022 meeting of the Council of the Town of Ajax be adjourned. Those in favor of adjournments? I see all hands. That is carried.